Have you ever stopped to think about what really makes a workplace, well, work? I'm not talking about the desks or the Wi-Fi. I mean the invisible, complex system that keeps the whole thing from just flying apart. You can think of it like an operating system for our professional lives. That system is called industrial relations. And today, we're going to pop the hood and see how it all works.
I mean, seriously, think about that for a second. How do you possibly manage the wants, the needs, the frustrations of thousands of different people, and balance all of that against the goals and pressures of a huge corporation? It seems almost impossible, right? But believe it or not, there's a framework specifically designed to do just that. And there you have it. That's our answer. Industrial relations is that entire framework. It's so much more than just a bunch of rules and regulations. It's about managing the fundamental human relationship at the very heart of any business. The goal? It's simple, but man, is it powerful. Create harmony, encourage people to work together, and when things inevitably go wrong, have a clear path to make them right again.
Okay, so if we're calling this an ecosystem, who exactly lives in it? You might think it's just a two-way street, a boss and an employee. But that's missing a really crucial piece of the puzzle. There are actually three major forces in this constant dance.
So first up, you've got the employers. They're focused on keeping the business running, on growth, on profitability. Then you have the employees. Now, their collective voice and their real strength often come through trade unions, which fight for things like better pay, safer conditions, you name it. And watching over the whole thing, that's the government. They're kind of like the referee, setting the rules of the game and making sure neither side gets an unfair advantage. Now, these players get together in two main ways. At the company level, you have what are called bipartite bodies. That's just the employers and employees, like in a works committee, trying to sort out internal issues. But for the really big picture, national stuff, they form tripartite bodies. This is where the government pulls up a chair, like in the Indian Labor Conference, to help shape labor policy for the entire country. It's the difference between a team meeting and a national summit. Of course, peace and harmony aren't always a given. Sometimes that ecosystem gets thrown completely out of balance. Disagreements are gonna happen. And when they do, both sides have some pretty powerful tools they can use.
So what does it take to be an official dispute in the eyes of the law? Well, it's not just any old argument. And here's the key thing to remember. You being upset about not getting a promotion, sorry, that doesn't count. But if a union takes up your case and argues that it's part of a bigger pattern of unfairness, then it becomes a formal industrial dispute. See the difference? It has to be a collective issue, not just a personal one.
So when talking breaks down and employees feel like their backs are against the wall, they can pull out their ultimate tool, the strike. This is their collective power made real, a coordinated, legally defined halt to all work. It is a massive, high-stakes move designed to hit the employer right where it hurts, in their operations, in their profits, to force them back to the negotiating table. But the employer has an equally powerful move in their playbook, the lockout. This is when management literally shuts the gates, closing the workplace down and stopping employees from being able to work or earn a paycheck. It is the employer's version of a strike, a really aggressive tactic to put immense pressure on the union and try to seize back control of a chaotic situation.
Okay, so strikes and lockouts, obviously these are extreme last-ditch efforts. The whole point of the system is actually to stop things from ever getting that far. So let's look at the path back to peace and how this whole ecosystem is designed to fix itself.
So what's the single most important tool in this entire system? You might think it's a weapon for winning a fight, but it's actually for avoiding the fight in the first place. It's collective bargaining. This is the simple, structured process where employers and unions sit down at the table and negotiate before everything blows up. It's all about proactive peacemaking. And hey, this isn't some new idea. Get this, all the way back in 1969, India's National Commission on Labor made a huge recommendation. They said the real key to industrial peace wasn't more laws or more courts. It was strengthening the ability of employers and unions to negotiate directly. That was a massive vote of confidence for prevention over cure, even way back then.
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What happens when the talks fall apart? The two sides are at a total impasse, and they just can't agree. Well, the system has a formal step-by-step pathway for that exact scenario.
The whole process escalates in these really clear stages. You start with conciliation or mediation. A neutral third party comes in, not to make a decision, but just to get the two sides talking again. If that doesn't do the trick, you move to arbitration. Here, that third party gets more involved. They listen to both sides, and then they actually propose a solution.
But what happens if one side still says no way?
That's when you hit the final stage, adjudication. The whole dispute now goes to a labor court or a tribunal. After hearing the entire case, a judge makes a final legal ruling. And that decision, it isn't just a suggestion. It is legally binding on everyone involved. The fight is over. This is where the debate ends. But here's the thing. Even with that final legal hammer available, the whole philosophy of the system is to stay out of the courtroom if you can. It's all captured in something called the Code of Discipline in Industry. Now, this isn't a law. It's more like a gentleman's agreement. It encourages both sides to solve their problems voluntarily, because a solution you both agree on is always going to be better than one that's forced on you.
So, there you have it. That's the classic model, a system built for a world of factories and 9-to-5 jobs. But that leaves us with a massive question for right now. How does this ecosystem, this whole framework, apply to a freelance delivery driver, a coder working from home, or a global team that's never even met in person? The old operating system for work clearly needs an update. The big question is, what's the new code going to look like?